every grain of rice, perfectly coated in egg. This isn't just egg fried rice, it's special fried rice. I'm here at London's premier Asian cookery school, School of Wok. Let's get woking. What makes special fried rice special? The answer is, I don't know. The real answer is everything. Whatever you can find. It's, for me, a leftover special. And if you ever have any leftover chassil or anything like that, I think it's the chassil that makes it. I've actually got some leftover homemade chicken chassil here, which actually sometimes I do have in the house. But we'll get on to how I made that in a second. First off, whatever veg you need to get rid of in your fridge works perfectly for any type of fried rice. Some carrot. The key for me is colourful veg, but all veg are colourful, but it's a nice mix of colours that you want. So carrot and peas work together, or some sugar snaps finely chopped up with a bit of pepper. Really is whatever you like. And when you're frying all these ingredients, it's important to set up your wok clock in true School of Wok style. And the idea of that is to keep it nice and organized so that your carrots and any sort of harder veg like this keep their crunch. So carrots at 12 o'clock on my wok clock. Got some spring onion, which I'm going to use to garnish at the end, but also the sort of thicker, more stemmy part of the spring onion I might put in just to flavour the oil at the beginning. Next up, you've always usually got, with special fried rice, a kind of mix of seafood and some sort of barbecued meat. Let's call it the Chinese surf and turf. With prawns, you could either chop them into sort of chunks, or I quite like to just slice them in half, like so, because when then they hit the wok, they kind of curl up really nicely. Now, my chicken chassil here is made out of chicken thigh rather than classically pork shoulder or pork neck. And it's just a bit left over. If you want to find a recipe for this, there's a really good recipe on the channel for classic chassil, and just swap that pork out for chicken thigh and you'll get to where I'm cutting up now. So roughly chopped chunks of some sort of leftover barbecue meat works a treat. So my wok clock is pretty much set up. There's not quite enough space for my peas to sit, but they'll kind of sit roughly here. So let's say my sort of stalky part of the spring onion sits at 12 o'clock, and then we're going to go all the way around carrots, prawns, chassil, and then my peas. Of course, there's the rice and eggs, because fried rice would not be anything without these two ingredients. And I'm going to do something slightly weird here that you might think, gosh, what is Jeremy doing today? Why is he teaching something that he's always said otherwise? But I'm going to crack my eggs. I'm going to beat them. And then what I'm going to do is just run a spoon through this cooked and cooled rice. They say day-old rice works best. It just needs to be cooled. Even if it's slightly warm, this isn't, but if it was slightly warm, it would work. And what the weird thing I'm doing here is I'm coating and almost like marinating my rice grains in the egg, which is counterintuitive to any other fried rice recipe that we've put on the School of Wok channel. Why? Don't ask. It's really weird today. What I'm trying to do, this is quite a actually an old sort of traditional way of cooking fried rice. And what I want to do is actually run my fingers through it and use the egg to separate out the grains of rice. So what you want to do is get that rice into the egg and wrap that egg around every single grain of rice. And that separates out the grains of rice but every single grain, when it hits the wok, has a wrapping of egg around it. Now I'm also gonna season this eggy rice with some salt and pepper so you get a good amount of flavor in there. And you're thinking, this looks like it's gonna end up being a rice omelette, which perhaps at the beginning of the stir fry, it might look like that. But what we're gonna do, which is why this is special fried rice, is we're gonna fry it and stir fry it to a point where all that egg around each grain dries up nice and well. The next special thing about this special fried rice is that we're cooking this in a more traditional, old school style wok, and that's a cast iron wok. It's thick based so that it can retain heat, especially because I'm cooking the rice like this and I don't want it to omelette. I want that sort of heat retention in the wok itself. Once your wok is hot enough, you want to get enough oil to sort of sit into this sort of eggy rice thing. And make sure that that oil is smoking hot before you get your rice in. I will turn it down in a second. Spoon your rice in. And then start to sort of push your rice into that hot oil and just scoop from the bottom and maneuver that rice around so that eventually each grain of rice comes out and starts to separate from each other once that egg is cooked well. Right now, I'm still on a high heat. And this process is going to take a good few minutes, let's say 3 to 4 minutes, to get to a point where the rice is then, or the egg has dried out enough to separate those grains. So once your rice grains have got to this point where it's dry enough to sort of separate out like so, then they're pretty much ready to come out. I'm going to bring them out and then I'll reintroduce them again once I've gone around the wok clock. A little bit of oil, not much at all, just enough now to cook the rest of these ingredients through. My base spring onion first, just to get that immediate hit of essence of spring onion flavor and aroma. And then your carrot. And I'm on a high heat all the way to the end of this stir fry now. You want to keep the crunch of that carrot so my prawns can go in next. I'm not too bothered about sort of browning the edge of those prawns at all, because you're going to get a lot of colour that comes in from the char siu and the marinade from there as well. So that's going to go in next. Keep folding that through nicely. My peas. My rice is going to come back in now. And that rice should be dry enough that you can kind of just fold everything through and not sort of add excessive amounts of moisture into the actual rice. And then once the rice is in, because it's starchy, I'm going to just turn the heat down slightly again so as not to burn. Light soy sauce, sesame oil to season at the end. That's extra moisture in the wok now. So what I'm doing from here on in is just making sure that that steam turns into almost smoke and evaporates out so that every grain of rice is still nice and separate. Doesn't this look beautiful? Something as simple as fried rice, just looking and smelling great. Just want to check the base of the wok to see anything sticking, but more importantly, whether you're getting that dancing rice, which I talk about in other videos. But once you've got little grains of rice sort of jumping out at you, then it's definitely dry enough and you're ready to serve. And to go with your special fried rice, a super special, super quick chili oil. Just some chili flakes, some dry red chilies, a little bit of hot oil, and some light soy sauce. Really easy, but just bring it all together nicely. Which reminds me well, growing up, one of my Chinese friends, his mom used to make a special fried rice every time I went over to his house and we were playing computer games. It is really special. Simple, special, tasty. If you like this type of recipe, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, and enjoy your rice.